This is Inside Access. I'm Connor Gregoire, Sports Editor of the Hoya. With me right now is Evan Hollander, our swimming and diving beat writer. The swimming and diving team has had a rough season. They face challenges in a strong conference. They have lesser facilities than some other programs do, and then they face tragedy this year as well. We're going to touch on that, all those things, and then get into the Big East Diving Championships, which are coming up this weekend. Evan, where I want to start with you is the program has a new coach. It's his first year, Jamie Holder, leading the program. What have you noticed about Coach Holder's leadership style? What's it been like for the team to adjust to him this year?
Well, the previous coach left and entered the priesthood at the end of last season, and Coach Holder came from Princeton. I think there's been more of an emphasis on dry land, on cross-training work. Mm-hmm. I think they've also probably spent more time in the pool. I know they've done 2-a-day practices, which was something I don't think they did that much under the old coach. So
Okay.
that obviously would be, that added workload, I think, is something that's changed.
Gotcha. Now, performing in the Big East Conference is tough for a lot of teams at Georgetown. You know, you think men's basketball when you think about the Big East being a tough conference, but how is it difficult for Georgetown's swimming and diving team to compete with teams in the Big East who have maybe better facilities, larger programs than we do?
Well, I think it's definitely an uphill battle. One of the things that I've noticed was this weekend the swimming and diving team this past weekend they went to Maryland to compete against the Terrapins, who are a really good program in the hunt for the ACC championship. And I think they parallel probably the better teams in the Big East,
Gotcha.
the Louisvilles, which is going to be where the Big East championship this year will be held. The Maryland gym is a top class facility, and all of the coaches were all raving about how nice it was. And I think the Ralph Wright Natatorium in Louisville is the same way. So while obviously it's an Olympic-sized pool, that's a difference. That's the program. That's definitely an obstacle the program has.
Right. I mean, you've been to Yates. What's it like in there where they compete?
I mean, it's in the gym building that people are using. People are coming in and out the whole time.
Right.
It's fairly small. It's pretty cramped. The scoreboards are not they do have an electronic scoreboard now, but it's not really state of the art.
Evan, the swimming and diving teams also faced tragedy this season. Michelle Conkley fell from the 5th floor of her window in Village C West right about the beginning of the spring semester. The team, I know, as well as Coach Holder, have been pretty tight-lipped about it, but obviously it's been a hindrance to their ability to perform this season, I would think, in some capacity, as well as just emotionally, both in and out of the pool. It's got to have taken a toll on them. What have you noticed about that incident and how it's affected the team?
Well, when they came back from the spring semester, it actually happened the day before. Most students got back because the team had been on a 10-day trip to Puerto Rico.
Right.
Working on training and getting up on the boards with the divers, and I think obviously that took the wind out of their sails a little bit. I know they did very well in Puerto Rico. They were making a lot of improvements, and you'd have to think it was emotionally draining, that incident. I don't know that it's necessarily affected everyone's performance, but clearly it, as a team in general, it would have to take a toll on the team dynamic.
Right. On a brighter note, the Big East Diving Championships are this weekend. This is the chance for 3 divers in particular who are going to be performing for Georgetown to show what they're made of, to put everything on the line. This is what they've been training for all season. So let's run down the list of who's going to be at the diving championships and what shot we think they have at placing.
Right. Well, on the women's side, the Hoyas are led by Caitlin Karniski. She finaled at last year's Big East Championship, and I think they expect her to at least do the same again. I think there is a chance for her to score up in the upper echelon of Big East diving competition. And I think they also are looking at her as a contender in the NCAA championships. And then there's another, on the women's side, there's another diver, Angela Pontnes. I think she's a junior, Caitlin's a senior. And she's not exactly at Caitlin's level, but I think she could compete and perhaps final. And then on the men's side, there aren't that many male divers. And the Hoyas do have one, junior Brian McAllister. And I think just because there are not that many male divers, I think he does have a chance to final.